What's up, everyone? This is Misti-Dawn with the Manamal Streaming Radio, and I'm here talking to the incredibly talented John Corabi from the Dead Daisies. It's truly a privilege and an honor to speak with you today. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. A little muggy here today, but other than that, I'm good to go.
Well, it's muggy here in Nashville, Tennessee as well.
I can imagine. Now, us at the Manamal, we think you guys are incredible. All the guys in the band and yourself, you got a whole lot of talent there. How is it working with what I call the dream team?
You know, honestly, it's been amazing. I've been with the band since 2015, and you know, I gotta be honest with you. Like, I kind of pinch myself. Pinch myself all the time because it's, I mean, to stand on stage with the caliber of musicians that I'm standing on stage with on a nightly basis is just mind-blowing. When you have guys like, Marco Mendoza and Dean Casanova and Doug Aldridge, David Lowy, there's never a shortage of ideas. There's not real often where somebody walks off stage and goes, God, I had a horrible night, or anything like that, you know what I mean? So it's kind of a privilege, it's a blessing, and we're all just, honestly, with the state of the music industry, we know how difficult it is for anybody in the business to remain in the business for 30 plus years and still be going strong. So we're all very grateful and not to sound cliche, but we're all very grateful about it and we're very happy with this current situation.
Now, do you feel this is the long haul lineup? It's not going to change from that point? I mean, I think like I said, it's the dream team.
Well, you know what, honestly, there's a curse and a blessing to being in a band like the Dead Daisies, and the blessing is, like I said earlier, there's never a shortage of ideas, and the caliber of musicians it's incredible. But the curse is, because everybody's as talented as they are, they're always being asked to do other things, or do other recording projects and different things like that. So, it's unfortunate, but we've had to make a few changes even since I've been in the band due to scheduling conflicts. So I'm not going to sit here and say that, this will be the lineup for the next 20 years, but we hope it will be.
Now, you've worked with a lot of bands, and some of them that come to mind are like Angora, Rat, Angel City Outlaws, Motley Crue. How does being the lead singer of the Dead Daisies compare to the other bands you were a part of?
Well, a lot of it too is hold on. Sorry.
Bless you.
A lot of it has to do with like I was saying earlier, when we go into a record, it's all very quick and sporadic, and it's very collaborative. A lot of it.
Well, as I said earlier, the caliber of musicians that we've got here makes it very easy to do things like, write and record an album, for example. Usually most bands, if you go back, and look at most bands, there are the exceptions like Queen, who everybody wrote songs. But for the most part, most bands are just like one guy or two guys doing the bulk of the writing and then, they go in and record. With this band, when I say collaborative, it truly is collaborative. Like, everybody in this band comes to the table with song ideas. Everyone. So that's been different. The other thing, too, is the amount of time that we take to do a record is kind of a bit unusual. A lot of the other bands that I've recorded with would take month, 5 weeks. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So it's a very quick process. It's very, like what we know, we figured out now after all these years, we know like when it's time to do a record, it's time to do a record. So I just think, that we're all older now. We've all grown up. We've all made mistakes in the past with different bands and things that we were involved in. But like I said, the collaborative part of it is, it's kind of unheard of. You know what I mean? Where everybody writes and contributes to every aspect of the writing process. So it's pretty cool.
It's awesome because when you listen, it's just like a well-oiled machine. Now, like with your new album, Burn It Down, every song on this album kicks some serious ass. I mean, it has a very 70s arena rock feel. Now, your first single, Rise Up, it sends a really powerful message, and with your vocals, it hits super hard and heavy. You've released a video for that also. And can you tell our listeners about the song and the video?
Well, I haven't, to be honest with you, I haven't seen the video yet. You know what I mean? But, lyrically, you know what? I'm not. It's a bit political, but I'm not really taking a piss out of anybody's choices. Basically, what I'm saying is, and this is my opinion. To me, like, I don't care if you're liberal. I don't care if you're conservative. I don't care if you're a libertarian. I don't care. Bottom line of it is, the thing that annoys me, and when we were working on the record, it's just, I see these people that will have an opinion on just things, like, political things, whether it's gun control or abortion or just any of these things. And immediately if someone disagrees with them, like, I don't know, it's just weird. Like, I've noticed that, we've become so divided and so opinionated that we're actually mean to each other. Like, I don't like seeing, liberals say, oh, you voted for Trump, so you're an idiot. I don't like people that are conservatives saying, oh, well, you have a liberal viewpoint, so you're a libtard. And my thing is, like, I don't understand how anybody can have a conversation, an adult conversation, or an adult debate about a topic, but I don't understand how they can do it by starting off the debate with an insult.
Yep.
And I just kind of sat there, even within our band, there's some guys in the band that are conservatives, and there's some guys that are liberals. And we just know, like, okay, we're going to have, varying viewpoints, but we don't talk to each other like, pardon my French, like assholes. You know what I mean?
Right.
We talk about it, we debate it, we discuss it, and that's it. We move forward. And, so that was bugging me. And my point is this. I don't care if you're conservative or liberal. I think all of the politicians, and if I ever meet an honest politician that isn't getting some money or something from someone at their job, like, I'll be shocked. So Rise Up is basically me saying, hey, everybody, conservatives and liberals and people in the middle, all of these people that we put in office, they're all crooked on both sides of the fence, liberals and conservatives. They're all getting money from somebody, whether it's pharmaceutical companies, insurance companies, NRA, like whoever. They're all making extra money, and they've all got, you know what I mean?
Right.
Rise Up is basically saying, listen, we all need to stick together and stop talking and treating each other like assholes. And we all together need to hold those people accountable for our ways of life. And, you know, my last and final statement is, I think if you took any conservative and put him in a room with a liberal and you said, what do you want out of life? I think you'd be shocked to find that a lot of them would say the same thing. I just want to be able to afford a home, take care of my family. I would love to be able to, feed my family, have a decent car to drive back and forth to work in, and maybe take my family on a few trips once in a while. And also know that if I do have to have open heart surgery tomorrow, I'm not going to lose everything I worked my whole life for.
Well, I think you should run for president because that was probably the greatest. No, that was said so perfectly and eloquently. I mean, you're absolutely right, 100%. And I, I think.
And I think a lot of the arguments that people get convoluted on when it comes to politics, and I may rub people the wrong way with this statement, but I think, at the end of the day, there are government issues to me, which are, taxes, affordable housing, medical stuff, that's government stuff. And I think where we get convoluted is with the morality things, like things like gay marriage, gay marriage, abortion. Like these things, I get it. People are passionate about them, but it's a morale thing. This is stuff that's based on religion. This is stuff that's based on religion. And if you really go back and look at, I don't know if it's the Bill of Rights or if it's the Declaration of Independence, but I know that there was supposed to be a separation when they started America. There was supposed to be a separation of church and state.
Right.
And I think a lot of the things that creep into American politics are morale issues. It's got more to do with your religious viewpoint than a government thing. It's not a government thing. That to me it's a morality thing. That's to each his own. You know what I mean?
Right.
Somebody wants to get married. If two men want to get married or two women want to get married, who cares? Go do it. Doesn't affect me. Doesn't affect my taxes. Doesn't affect the fact that I want to buy a house or I want to be able to take care of my family. It's got nothing to do with that. That's a morale issue. A moral issue, I meant. And, you know what I mean?
Right.
I think that's where things start getting convoluted, and it's just, that's got, one thing has nothing to do with the other. So leave it over there. That's
Right.
over there. And it's just, it's just weird. We were supposed to have equal rights for everybody. We were supposed to have no discrimination on religious viewpoints. If you want to be a Catholic, a Jew, you want to be a Muslim, you want to be it's all there. It's like we won't persecute anybody for religious beliefs, for the color of their skin, and it's all written down in one of those two documents. And so I think we start trying to fit the square peg into the round hole because it doesn't fit whatever cause, you know what I mean?
Right.
And we're just a little misguided right now, and I just, and that's what Rise Up is about. It's like, you know what, stop with the bullshit, stop with the name calling on Facebook. If you really want to make a change, get together, sort your differences out, and then hold everybody in Washington accountable.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. Now, with Rise Up, you made the U.S. Active Rock Chart Top 40. How exciting was that when you heard that?
Well, it's the first time for the Dead Daisies, so we're over the moon about it, and honestly, it's because of our fans. We truly have, without blowing smoke up anybody's ass, we truly have great fans. They've started all these offshoot fan clubs like the Dead Daisies and the Chain Gang, and they're doing all this stuff on their own, and they're calling the radio stations now, going, "Hey, we've seen this band, we like the band, why don't you play the band?" And they're rallying to the cause, and it's awesome. So it's all, we're not buying the radio airplay. It's all because of our fans who are standing up for what they want, and we couldn't be happier about it. We're doing it the old school way. You know what I mean? It's kind of awesome.
It is awesome, very much so. When I first heard of you guys, actually, it was only about a year ago. And I'm a big Dean Castronova, Doug Aldrich, all of you. And whenever I listened to the entire album, I was just like, why did I not hear about these guys much sooner? I mean, you guys are amazing. Just, there's no other way to put it. That's it.
Well, you know what, darling? Sometimes, there's this saying, and I truly believe in it. Sometimes, good things come to those who wait. And it's that goes for you. You're like, oh, now I've discovered this band, so I'm happy. And it's the same for us. Like I said earlier, we're not doing anything other than going out. We're writing records, we're recording them, and we're going out, and we're doing it the old-fashioned way. It's going out. We're playing shows as much as we can. We're meeting new fans. They're walking away from our shows, and they're telling their friends, and their friends are telling friends, and now it's getting to the point where they're picking up the phone, and they're saying, I want to hear this. I want to hear this band. And when we first started out, the thing that's different, our management kind of figured out, you know what, there is no MTV anymore. And radio is kind of, for a new band like us, it's really a hard nut to crack. It's really non-existent for a lot of new bands, which is a shame.
Right.
There's a million great bands out there that will never get on the radio because radio is so monopolized and I don't know what the word would be, corporation controlled.
Right.
That, even there in Pennsylvania, there's a ton of great local acts that you'll never see or hear because they just can't get that, they can't get their head above water. And our management kind of figured out, well, okay, there's no MTV, so we're going to use YouTube. And there is no radio, so we're going to use Spotify, we're going to use Pandora, we're just going to promote, instead of the old magazines like Hit Parader and Cream and Billboard, a lot of those magazines that I grew up with, they're not existent anymore. So now it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. But the best part of it is the new way that we're doing it, it allows us to have direct contact with the fans. And, so that we've kind of figured out through our management and our PR people around us, they're like, we're going to pull the fans into this, and we're going to bring them in and invite them into our life and have them be a part of every aspect of this band. So even when we go on tour, our management puts out a big blast across the board, and they go, hey, what songs do you guys want to hear live? And we get feedback.
Right.
And then we apply it. So it really has become like a band, a people band. You know what I mean? Right. We do meet and greets every night. We every night. And it's awesome. We're starting to see, the fans tell us all the time, man, thank you so much, thank you so much, thank you so much. You know what I mean? But it does take time because as many fans as are jumping on board, there's still that many more fans that don't really know who we are and it's going to take time, but we're doing it the old-fashioned way, one fan at a time. And then that one fan will tell 5 others, and then those 5 will tell 5 more. And, but it takes time. So now you're on board. You found out about the band last year.
Yeah.
Now you're doing this interview, and you're going to tell, if 10 more people read this interview or hear this interview, and they go, wow, I never heard of those guys before. Let me check them out. Job done.
Yep.
More people, that'll be, that 10 people could lead to 500 more people or 1,000 more people. You know what I mean?
That's what we're striving for. We really want to get you guys out there and circulating, that's for sure. But you just come off of a European tour. Now, that was all the shows sold out?
That's incredible. Not all of them. There was a few places that were, if they weren't sold out, they were close. But when we got to the UK was completely sold out before we even stepped foot on their land. Europe, majority of the shows were sold out. And like I said, even the ones that weren't were close. So we had a great run. Now we're getting ready to go to Japan. All the shows in Japan are already sold out. So we've been working hard for this, and it's growing, and we couldn't be happier.
Now, you start the U.S. tour in August, so when you're going to Japan, that's in June, correct?
Yeah, we leave June. I think I'm leaving June 22nd. I live in Nashville, so I think I'm going to go and fly from Nashville to L.A. and hang out overnight there, and then I'm going to meet up with the guys. We head to Japan from there.
That's awesome. That is incredible. I mean, it just mind-boggling knowing that you have taken the time to work the promotions and stuff like that to get where you are right now, to where you're playing sold-out shows in other countries. I mean, the hard work is paying off for you guys, and it's really incredible to see.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Now, I love every single song on this album. There's not one on there that I don't like. However, my favorite is What Goes Around. Now, it's very gives me a Black Sabbath-y kind of feel to it. What's your favorite song off of this album?
You know what? It's like picking your favorite finger, but mine is the one that you can hold up and off at somebody. But anyway, you know what? That's a difficult question because it'll vary from hour to hour, day to day, whatever. I think lyrically across the board, the one for me that really kind of means the most, I hate to say the most, but the one that probably has my fingerprints written all over it would be Resurrected. Only because I kind of used myself and Dean as inspiration for it. And it was that thing where, not that we went away or not that we weren't around for the last 20 years, but it's just that thing like when I did the Motley gig, I got the gig, I was riding on top of the world, and then when I kind of Vince Neil came back, a lot of people, for lack of a better term, they wrote me off and said, well, he blew it. He had the ring, the brass ring, and he dropped it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And the same kind of for Dean. You know, Dean was doing the, Bad English, and then he was the drummer for Journey for 16 or 17 years, and then he, obviously, it's very well documented, he had some issues a few years back.
Yeah.
And he'll be the first person to tell you, like, he was like, he didn't think that he'd ever be in a band again. And this opportunity for him, he said, it's just, it came at a point where he was like really starting to question whether he would play with this, and he came, and we all fell in love with the guy like immediately. You know what I mean? He's such a good dude.
He is.
And,
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's like, it's just about second chances, man. It's just like, I've been kind of going over the last 20 years doing different things and keeping myself very happy and making money to the point where I could take care of my family and myself. So I've been okay, you know what I mean? But a lot of people have thought that, you know, I wasn't really kind of in like a lot of people's radar. Now with the Daisies, I've kind of, for lack of a better term, reestablished myself. So it's just me going, hey, look, I'm still here, never went away, and as much as you may want me to, I ain't going anywhere. You know what I mean?
That's right. I don't want you to go anywhere. Neither do the rest of the partners. They don't want you to go anywhere.
Well, I'm not going. I'm gonna be like Keith Richards and a cockroach. I ain't going away that easy. So, all good.
Now, Marty Fredrickson produced this album as he did the previous album, Make Some Noise. How was it working for or with him?
I love Marty. I've known Marty since The Scream. And again, it's like one of those things where
Ay, ay, ay. Hello?
okay, this thing just does not want me to continue this interview.
Oh, we'll be good.
Marty I've known since the Scream days.
Mm-hmm.
And we've watched each other, you know, I watched him grow into, like, you know, Class A producer and songwriter, and he's been watching my career over the years, and, you know, and working with him is awesome. I've learned a lot from working with him, and I think it's a cool thing. Like, I think that we've found, like, historically, if you go back and you look at bands like, you know, the Beatles or Queen or Alice Cooper, they all had a guy. They had a guy that they could go to help them see their thought through. And, you know, like with Queen, they had Roy Thomas Baker. With Aerosmith, they've had a couple of guys. They had Jack Douglas way back when, and then they came back and they were clean and sober, so they were using Bruce Fairbairn.
Mm.
And then it's unfortunate Bruce passed away, and then they latched on to Marty. And, you know, I think with Alice Cooper, where it's like, you know, and I think we found that guy, that translator, the great translator, the guy that can help us get the tones onto the record, but also he's an amazing songwriter, so he can actually look at a song and go, I think this is a great song, but I think you guys are being a little self-indulgent. Trim out that. Or add another part. It needs another part. So it's good to have that fresh set of eyes and ears as a songwriter as well. So we don't consider ourselves a five-piece band. Live, we're a five-piece band, but in the studio, we're a six-piece band because Marty's that guy.
That's awesome. It's when you find somebody like that, you're going to stick with them. There's no doubt about that. That's for sure.
I know I'd love it. I'm not going to speak for everybody, but you know, I'd love to work with Marty again and again and again. That guy is so talented, it's ridiculous. So.
Now, I always like to get a couple questions from the fans, and I always have a couple of my own standard outside the music questions as well. Janice would like to know if there are any hard feelings towards the Motley Crue guys.
Not from my end at all. I can't speak for them, and I wouldn't. I know Mick and I are fine, and it was like maybe last year or so, I ran into Vince at a festival together, and Vince was fine with me. We hung out. We were on his bus. We had a drink together, and we just kind of chilled out. I can't speak for Tommy or Nikki, but I don't really have any issues with them at all. You know, I had a great run with them. I think we did a lot of great music together, and I'm proud of it. So I'm good.
Absolutely. Let's see. Leanne asked, this is a good one. I really like this one. Leanne asked, if you had the chance to go back in time 30 years, what one thing would you tell yourself about the music business that would have shaped your career differently?
Read shit before you sign it.
Good one. That's good.
That's it. Just, you can fill in the blanks with anything, because I think every musician will tell you that there's that one contract that they've had at some point that they should have read a little more thoroughly, or maybe had a lawyer check out before they signed it. I unfortunately, I've done it a couple of times, but that's what I would absolutely tell myself. Don't sign anything unless you've read it and totally understand it.
Good advice, absolutely. And that goes for anything in life, you know.
Pretty much.
Now, I have a question. How eclectic is your Spotify playlist? If that's what you listen to.
Honestly, my iPod, let's put it that way.
Okay.
I have a little bit of everything. And I think probably the one thing that I have the least amount of on my iPod, I would say, is probably rap music. I love it. I love a lot of it. But that's probably the one that I have the least of. But I love everything. I was just, my mother didn't play any instruments, but she probably had the most eclectic record collection ever when I was growing up. And I actually, as a kid, I went to my rock concerts, but I had an uncle and my mom who basically took me to a lot of other things as well. Like, I was born and raised in Philadelphia, so I used to go to this place with my uncle and my mom in New Jersey called the Latin Casino. It's not there anymore. It was there in the 60s and 70s. But I remember going to see Roy Clark, who's a country guy. I saw Frank Sinatra twice as a kid.
Oh, wow.
I saw guys like Tony Bennett, Perry Como, but then it was weird. Like, I'd go home, and a week later I was going to see Sabbath at the Spectrum in Philly. So my taste is still like that. You know what I mean? Like, I love, I was obviously very touched and moved when Chris Cornell passed away, and David Bowie and Prince. But I was also just as touched with guys like Glenn Campbell. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think as a musician, I listen to Glenn Campbell's guitar playing, and I go, what a monster guitar player. But as much as I loved his guitar playing, his voice was sick. It was insane. The guy had an amazing range. So I can just look at people and, I just appreciate their talent, I guess. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm all over the map. I mean, I've got everything on my iPod, I've got everything from Frank Sinatra to Led Zeppelin and everything in between.
Sounds like mine. People always kind of, when they ask me, what are some of the things you have in your playlist. I love classical music. I mean, I'm an 80s girl through and through, but I'll listen to anything. So, and I think for you to be able to call yourself a music lover, you almost have to appreciate all types of music.
Yeah, and if you listen, it's like I tell my son this. My son is my drummer in my solo act, at my solo band, and I always tell him, you know what, regardless of what you do, whatever band that you're in, whatever you want to do, it's always good to hear other types of music because you never know. Like, you may, at one point, I may sit down and write something and go, man, this has got a little bit of a country vibe to it. What would Glenn Campbell do?
There you go.
And it's just more shit for you to draw from. So I just love music, man. A good song's a good song. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, John, is there anything else you'd like to say to your fans and our listeners that we may not have covered today in this interview?
Well, I'm very excited to be coming to lovely Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Can't wait. It's been a while. I haven't been there for... It's been quite a while. I'm originally from Philadelphia, and I came up in the club circuit back there. So I used to play a place out there called, what was it called? The Silo, I think. And, and I've got a ton of cousins that live out in Lancaster, so I'm excited to see them all. So it's going to be good to get back there, but I want to thank everybody for all their support. And, with the Dead Daisies, or even with me personally, I'm still here 35 years later because of you guys, so can't thank them enough.
That's awesome. I'm a PA girl myself, so I know where you're talking about.
Cool. Go Eagles.
Yeah. Actually, well, I won't even get into that because it could get me on for a tangent for hours. So, John, I really want to thank you so much for talking with me today. It's really been a super honor for me. For all the listeners out there, please be sure to check out the Dead Daisies' new album, Burn It Down. It won't disappoint. This is Misti-Dawn with the Manamal Streaming Radio. Rock on.